And if I'm super baked, which I usually am when I'm running in the morning.
Actually?
Oh yeah. And at the end of the day, it's really going to be about 10,000 people that have the biggest impact on the world in the next 30, 40 years. I want people to have a better opportunity to control their own happiness. That was absolutely brilliant.
Cool.
Was that really your first one?
I swear to God. I quit my corporate job when I was 22 years old, and the whole experience left me with a bit of a sour taste in my mouth. When I came across Timm Chiusano's content, which showcases what life is like as an executive, a successful yet humble executive, I decided that I needed to meet him because I knew that he could answer questions that I still had about the corporate world. I needed therapy. You see, Tim's very different from the stereotypical suit. He's all about assisting those who are trying to make an impact, but rather than tearing down a system that may not work for you, he's about understanding how you fit into the machine and then working your way through it from the inside. It's a subtle form of activism that, frankly, I find very attractive because it's a little bit more sophisticated than what we might see, out there today on an app somewhere in a pool of negativity. Ironically, Timm became so successful making content that he's actually recently quit his corporate job since filming this podcast. He's in the process of publishing a book as well as taking on 1,000 other projects, which include looking after his family, which I was fortunate enough to have dinner with after this little drive. Today's podcast was filmed during peak hour in Midtown, New York. I collected Timm from work and it was bucketing down with rain. Enjoy.
It don't really matter what you say. I ain't listening to you anyway.
So you have time to stick for dinner too?
I do. I'd love to. I'd love
cool.
to join for dinner.
All right. So
Yes.
here's what we're gonna do.
Yeah.
First stop is gonna be 17th and Irving. We're gonna go pick up sushi. We'll kick you out and get you home at a reasonable hour because my kid's gotta go to bed anyway, and I get back to work at 8 o'clock like a fucking lunatic.
Totally understand that you do it very well. How's your day been, man?
It's been the usual. It's been the usual craziness. It is the weirdest shit, and I'm also excited about this because I feel like I can be totally unhinged in this car. It is the weirdest. It continues to be the weirdest thing to have these like two lives, so to speak.
Yep.
So there was a Rolling Stone thing that happened earlier this year.
Yeah.
And I got in a bit of trouble for that at work.
What? But it's not really controversial.
There's nothing controversial about it, but we're a 100,000 person company.
Okay.
And it's a smart rule for them to have if you are an employee and you're in the press and it mentions that you work at the company, we should have a heads up about it before it happens.
It doesn't matter what it is.
Doesn't matter what it is.
Okay.
Right, because if you start to create under these scenarios, with 100,000 people, you got no shot of actually managing that on a consistent basis.
Okay.
So, I didn't know that they were going to mention that connection. And I also don't get last rights from an editorial perspective.
Not,
it was
yeah.
hey, the article's done. And I didn't even know it was a few months had passed. I thought it might have gone away or something. I'm like, oh shit, am I not cool anymore? Because the conversation happened in January. So when it came out, it mentioned that where I work. And so my boss came by my office the next day and was like, hi, Tim. I'm like, hi, Michael. He's like, how was your day yesterday? I'm like, pretty good. He's like, anything big? Yeah, anything big happen? I'm like, yeah. He's like, look, proud of you, but you got to be cognizant. So anyway, that's why I try to give, not over manage it, but it's, I don't know. It's just, it's a weird couple of worlds.
So that's with the Rolling Stones publication. I mean,
Yep.
Rolling Stones is Rolling Stones.
Right.
That's massive. But if you were to come on, let's just say a modest little podcast
Yeah.
like this, would it be the same deal?
Yeah, I mean, look, if I sat here and I told you all of our financial information and, hey, I just got in, just got out of my quarterly forecast meeting and here's how we're, trending on things.
Yeah.
That might raise some eyebrows to say the least, but
Sure.
no, I mean, at this point I'm saying yes to all of the things as much as I can, and I have been. I'll be smart about it. I understand where the company line is. I'm going to need to toe it, but I also don't want to hold back and have regrets later on, oh man, I was trying too hard to be the company guy.
Yeah. So I used to work in corporate sales.
Okay.
I only did 3 years.
Yep.
But I really liked it. I'm going to rewind even further back. When I was at school,
Okay.
I was my older brother's little brother.
Okay.
And in my corporate big boy job, my dad, he didn't get me the job, but he got me an interview, and I know I was favored because of it.
Yep.
So I was my dad's son.
Yep.
And I liked the environment. It was such a comfortable environment. I was selling premium mattresses.
Okay.
1 second, let me not kill anybody. And it was great, but the thing is, I just didn't fit in. I was like half the age of everybody in this company.
Yep.
And then I came into being managed by kind of like a micromanager. It just didn't really work out, and I quit. But the more people I meet that have either been in similar situations to me or still work in a corporate role, I'm finding out that like perhaps I quit because the team wasn't quite right as opposed to the job.
Yep.
And I feel like this is actually quite common. I'm very happy with with how things have turned out. I like my life, but I feel like a lot of people quit roles because the job's fine, but the team's not quite right.
Yep.
Have you ever been in an environment where the team hasn't been quite right, but you thought that the job wasn't for you?
I've seen every fucking slice that there is underneath the sun at this point, so 1,000% yes. And there's so many different degrees to that too, of like, is it the task being put on the team that's making the team that way? Is it the individual personalities? Is it a single individual that is causing some sort of like toxic spread throughout the others? Is it truly the people, or is it something from a self-awareness perspective? Like, I've seen all of it, because it's, especially when you start to like managing large groups of people, you have to then potentially deal with situations where you've got one manager in one area of the country that has 3 people on their team, and something is happening there, and you have to kind of go in and wrap your head around it. So yes, 1,000%. I can either get super in the weeds on like the specificities and, you know, based on who the people are and where their heads might be and why that's causing the situation that it is. I also can take the harder stance and ask questions around, well, was that an opportunity for you or whomever? And it depends on like which side of my brain I want to pull out to. Is it like the super hardcore executive side, or do I want to just have like the broader, you know, easier conversation around it? The hardcore executive side, which also I think I try to infuse with the most emotional intelligence as well, is the one that is going to ask, well, were there leadership opportunities within that weren't being taken advantage of? Because when it comes to teams, and whether you're selling mattresses or whether you're trying to win an NBA championship, you're inherently going to have a group of folks that are not all on the same playing level. And for things to be successful, the bench player has to be pulling their own weight for what they can do. I think too often people get into corporate America and they get frustrated and they're like, you know, well, their talent is up here and their talent is down here and blah, blah, blah. It's like, yeah, no shit, because not everyone's going to be a fucking all-star. So if you can understand that and be like, okay, cool, I know this person is always going to be a train wreck with Excel, and I know this person's always going to be amazing with PowerPoint, and then you can look at things almost like you're a conductor in an orchestra. And it's like, you then have a better sense of pulling things together, how you can help people be the best versions of themselves, etc. And not only that, but you're just going to inevitably do better work, and people are going to be more comfortable. And I think that that's often overlooked. And I will not say a single thing where I will say, oh, well, I was smart enough to know blank. In every case, I was just dumb enough to do something that led me to have a smart outcome if I got to the smart outcome. So for this in particular, I was dumb enough to be like, okay, cool, let me just help bridge things. Let me help like cover for that person that's here, or if this person's really good, like let me ask favors there. And then I inherently was doing what I'm describing, but I think that there can be an amazing job, then you feel like the people, you know, are wherever they might be, but how do you then just adapt to that? also at the end of the day, like, happiness above all else. So if you're around a bunch of people that are just dragging you down because they're always like, oh, this sucks, and it's one of those types of environments, that's a slightly different conversation, especially if it's pervasive. But I've totally seen both, and I think it depends on ultimately what you want too, right? Like if you're like, cool, I dig this, I just dig the entire process, let me get a sense of, is that place one of 100 stores like that? And is it a training issue that's leading to the people that are behaving that way? Is it a recruiting issue that's leading to the team being that way? Are there things that I can think about that can then help foster better environments with those things in mind? So I don't know if any of that made any sense.
No, it absolutely did. And there were a couple of things that hit there. I think the one main one, because I don't know if this is kind of an intense way of looking at it, but it's very easy to I guess, point fingers, whether it's in a professional sense or in a personal sense, of like when something's not working and saying this is why it's not working. Having said that, I know there was like definitely I was like 22 at the time, but so I was super new to it all. But I think it's very easy for me at the time to have blamed the situation not on myself.
Yep.
But looking back, I think what resonated with what you said was, did I seek out the correct leadership positions effectively to keep it interesting for myself?
Yeah.
Because one of the things that I notice about, I think, a corporate environment is there needs to be structure so that kind of like the carrot can continue to dangle in front of you so that you know what you're working towards.
Yep.
And I didn't really know what I was working towards.
I think that's a good thing, actually.
That I didn't know what I was working
Yes.
towards? Well, how so?
Because if you don't know what if you know what you're working towards, you're gonna be focused on that.
Okay.
If your broader objective is to just improve whatever skill sets you would like to improve and make an impact on wherever you are,
Okay.
then you're going to be less about like, cool, here's the destination on the map, how do I get there as fast as I can? And I think that's where a lot of people get fucked up, because they're like, well, wait a minute, I want to, and they get so focused on, I'm a manager, I want to be a senior manager, or I want to be like this, or this. And I definitely went through that, like 1,000%. I had some crazy ideas in my head of like, by 30, I want to be doing blank, 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 and blank. And it wasn't the best, my own opinion, it was not the best way to look at things, and that's when I felt the most stagnant in my career. It's once I was like, let me just kind of throw some shit at the wall and see what happens and see what an impact I can make, and then all of a sudden it was just like rocket fuel, and I was like, what's happening? I'm like, oh, I stopped giving a shit about the things that I was, and also too, you can start to unintentionally waste time, like actually waste time getting stuck in that mindset or that trap of, but I'm trying to get here, so I need to focus on like, what are those steps versus just going and doing.
And then you also can get frustrated and say, I'm
Totally.
not there yet, and I
Totally.
thought I should be there, and that can
Totally.
just kind of implode on its very
Yeah.
interesting.
It's remarkable like how freeing it can be, and it also makes like what I'm doing now super fun, because I can have those conversations and help people get out of their own way in some regards. And that's honestly, it's like, I don't like talking people out of feeling like they're stuck in a corner, just because I don't want them to be in the corner in the first place. But it's actually super fun, because I feel like I'm still at an age where things that I could say are relatable, and I'm like close enough to mentally and physically where I'm not so far removed from doing the work that I know that they're going through as well. And that's really fun, and to see the impact of that is actually super rewarding. And that's like one of the biggest pieces of what fuels me on a day in and day out basis, because I don't give a shit about I mean, I give a shit about business outcome and those types of things, but like I really don't care about like what happens next for me career-wise.
Right.
Because I know that focusing on these things is just done what it's already done, and then it just makes the rest of it so much inherently easier.
And this is interesting because it's almost like a therapy session, but for 22-year-old me. But like at the time, and this is largely influenced by my brother. He's a superstar when it comes to like anything business, and the idea of like being a digital nomad was very sexy. Yep. The idea of like a lot of Aussies go to Bali, they got their laptop, their internet connection, and they've got some sort of commerce website or whatever, and financially they can just make it all happen for themselves. This is like 2014 period. So just like adding a bit of the context there.
So you're 32?
I just had 30.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Nice.
And
congratulations.
Thank you. I celebrated my birthday in Vietnam with my girlfriend a couple of weeks
right.
ago.
I think I saw some of the
I've been on such a like high for the last 3 weeks. It's kind of crazy. There's just a lot of new experiences.
Yeah, no, I saw the sand tobogganing.
Yes. Yeah. I thought you could only do that in Egypt.
Quick logistics question.
Sure.
I forget if I asked this already in the car. You eat sushi?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So they open at 5, so are you cool to like, we get out and we go in for a second? It'll take like 10 minutes to pick up.
Of course, yeah.
I don't think a lot of people understand the broader impact and change that they can have, especially over things like wealth discrepancy, by getting inside the companies and changing it from within the companies.
Okay.
I can impact people's pay. And the better I do my job, the more budget I might have at my disposal, and I'm small piece of the pie, relatively speaking, but that's still impact. And even if that's just on an individual basis of like, hey, this person in this city or town was making blank, let's have a conversation with HR and finance or whomever, and try to be part of committees that discuss, what does an equal system look like so that there's a fair opportunity to be in Madison, Wisconsin or New York City, and make sure that there's course corrections based off of cost of living. I can't solve the world with that, but I can have an impact, at least in a reasonable way, that a lot of people never get an opportunity to do so. And I don't think that those that are skeptical of big business, quote unquote, understand that, especially when it comes to things like pay gaps, environmental policies, health coverage, that from within the companies, you can have a substantial impact on those types of things. And then at the end of the day, it's really going to be about 10,000 people that have the biggest impact on the world in the next 30, 40 years. Those 10,000 people are probably going to be the top 20 people at the Fortune 500 companies on the planet.
Interesting. Okay.
And it's far too slow for most governments to and are they actually going to be able to come to alignment to be like, oh, this is the way that things should be, and this is going to just make that much broader of an impact quickly? No, like when, if we've had some instances here in the States recently where a state government will be like, oh, we're now implementing you can't say the word gay in school or something. And then a company, right, Disney took all kinds of stances against Florida. Coca-Cola took major exceptions with Georgia in a few instances. And anyway, so I think when it comes to some of those bigger, and I forget even how that we got on the topic, but I don't think that enough people who are, especially the smart, skeptical ones in their mid-20s, understand that there's a broader good fight to fight that's not just, I need to make sure that there are boundaries for when I'm logged in and when I'm logged out. Yes, happiness above anything else. But what if you were the one that could impact the policy so that other people didn't have to worry about that in 5 years?
But is your contention there, because I think I understand what you're saying, but is your contention overall that, actually it ties in quite neatly with what potentially my mistake was, as a 22-year-old corporate salesman, that outside of the tunnel vision in your role of like, you know, trying to get that promotion and promotion, to kind of zoom out a little bit and see how you're potentially impacting a wider system.
Yeah,
that's effectively
1,000%. 1,000%.
And that's hard. That's hard when you haven't had, I guess, life kick you in the teeth. But a way for life to kick you in the teeth is also to make the mistake and kind of leave a place that could be good for you.
Yeah, well, and I also don't think it necessarily has to come down to being kicked in the teeth. I think it could just be that realization of, oh, wait, so who writes the rule books here? Oh, those people over there do? How do I get in that room?
But a lot of people think that's government. A lot of people just kind of knee-jerk, it's the
right,
government.
or it's the man.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But, and so that's another reason why there's like all of these little things that I do that take far too long to try to explain in a single TikTok. But it's like, there's very specific intention in my head if I'm telling a story or I'm including somebody from HR for just like a random quick snippet that makes them seem a bit more human and a bit more relatable. It's because I want people to have an understanding that HR departments are filled with good people, obviously not 100% across the board, but they also need good people to take care of other good people, and that we are stuck in this like weird cycle right now of just being, you know, in some cases miserable with work-life balance, with being dragged around by your nostrils by your career and that kind of stuff, and we don't realize the impact that we can have collectively over some of those things, and that it's either going to be put into the hands of other people to just either keep it the same way, form what it's going to be, or those that don't like it or have the most discontent. Very difficult, but those people can be like, I want to go get in that room. Is that going to mean that I'm going to have to work my ass off for the next 5 years to get an opportunity to then go be the person sitting at the table that's like, cool, no, we're voting on this and this is what we're doing now? And again, not smart enough to have like figured all that out back in the day, but dumb enough to have done the work to then be thrown into those situations. And it's like, toxic environment, who wants to be part of the new committee that's going to rewrite the company beliefs? Fuck yeah, that sounds like paint drawing to most people. But if you're telling me that I get to write some weird ass language that is all of a sudden going to be put on posters around the office, and we get to point to it and be like, hey, we decided this is the way we behave now, I'm 1,000% down for that. Because I think the only way you can really create change is if you're like in the system making the change.
Yeah.
We need to stand up, we need to go protest, we need to vote, we need to do all those things too. But there's actually like a lot that can happen and good that you can do from actually being inside the machine and fucking it up from inside, instead of just assuming that somebody else might fix it, or if you talk loud enough about things that they get fixed.
This is very fascinating to me because I think I just got it.
Okay.
I think I just got it.
Amazing.
I've been watching your content for a while, and I think it just clicked. I think I get the funnel.
Cool.
Because it starts, I don't know if this is kind of like ruining the movie for the viewer, but correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
It starts kind of like how I started. You're watching a TikTok. You feel good from the TikTok. It's a leading by example, stress relieving content repeatedly.
Hopefully.
And then the more of you that one consumes, whether it's like your YouTube or your podcast, which I was listening to earlier today, the basis of it is honing down further on work, but work not in the sense of like hustle your ass off so that you can build the tallest tower in New York and fuck everybody else. Right. It's work so that you can contribute to a system that already exists that has flaws, as opposed to, and again, correct me if I'm wrong with this, but as opposed to, which I'm seeing a lot, and sometimes it makes sense and sometimes it's jarring, we need a revolution. Everything's fucked.
Yep.
We're all fucked.
Right.
We need to fix everything,
Yep.
and by fixing everything, it means starting again.
Yep.
Which I struggle to appreciate, because I also look at, especially places like New York City, and I'm like, well, we built this, so
Yeah.
we can do some pretty impressive shit.
Oh, fuck yeah.
We haven't gotten it all wrong. Again, it's very inspiring, and I even down to the detail of getting addicted to appreciation.
Mhm.
Can you explain how the addicted to appreciation fits into that funnel?
Oh, 1,000%. It is
Yeah.
it can touch every part of that funnel easily, because I think it's a switch that all of a sudden completely changes perspective on anything. It's, I mean, I could pick a random example. All right, lights in the tunnel.
Mhm.
So
I'm in the wrong lane. Sorry.
you're fine. Lights in the tunnel, this is not something that anybody necessarily would have a grudge with, but you could work at that light company and be like, oh, this is fucking terrible. I work for a company that just makes lights and it's kind of boring and like, you know, great. Like, we got a whole bunch of new orders and whatever. Or you could be like, all right, this is what we do, helps provide the right amount of visibility so that we reduce car crashes at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you're stressed out over that one stupid order that's coming through and that person you don't love working with, is it inevitably going into a situation where someone's life that you may never know and you don't know the situation happens, but they come screeching down this tunnel late at night, and because the lights work well and the order went through and all those kinds of things, they didn't smash into something else. That's 1,000% possible. But if you don't kind of appreciate some of like the broader elements that you can potentially impact, you're never going to give yourself the opportunity to see like the good within that. And it can go to so many things, and it's not even just about like, okay, well, I fucking hate chocolate ice cream. How am I going to start to like appreciate it? You don't necessarily have to appreciate the thing, but can you appreciate like what goes into the thing? How complicated is that series of events to go from planting the cacao, harvesting it, how they went through whatever negotiations they went through to have that be the farm that sources it for that thing that goes to wherever. And even if you're talking about fucking Costco chocolate ice cream, which I'm sure is lovely, and you're like, whatever, this is just shit ice cream. It's like, well, how interesting is that there's this company that does this thing, and how is their business model stable? And like, you can just get super curious just because you appreciate an element of it that makes you look at it a slightly different way. So when it comes to that funnel piece, it's, okay, yes, I might have a disagreement with HR about this specific policy, but can I take a step back and appreciate any element of it? And I'm not talking about gratitude. Gratitude is a transactional thing.
Okay.
I get something, I feel gratitude for that thing.
Okay.
Appreciation is foundational, where even if you don't look at that HR policy and think, cool, I'm glad that it's there, because you might fucking hate it, but can you take a moment to appreciate why it exists in the first place? Because if you can find that out, then you can figure out a way to change it, be okay with it, or have a conversation to be had that's like, I searched high and low for why this exists and I cannot find a single thing. Can we have a conversation about this going away now? But if you're just like, fuck that, I don't like that, you got no shot. If you infuse just that tiny little bit of appreciation to take a step back, I think you're just going to be happier overall because you look at everything differently. Like, there's not anything within our eyesight now that I couldn't give like a similar type of like parallel path to. And the opportunity to solve broader problems, or even like super small ones, all of a sudden opens up because you're not just focused on what you can't be okay with. You're now searching for what is the root of that thing, because I just appreciate the fact that it exists and there might be something within it that I never understood before. And so many people get stuck, especially in broader corporate environments, where they're like, this is the stupidest thing, I hate this form, I hate this whatever. It's like, yes, of course. That's like picking up a board game and being like, I don't like these pieces and I don't like the way that this looks. It's like, well, did you read the rule book? And like, let's read the rule book. And then if you don't like the board game, then put the board game away and let's go choose another one. but it's just a bunch of board games. And if you give yourself, and why I kind of get fired up about it is because I want people to have a better opportunity to control their own happiness. And I think that if you look at things this way, you're going to be happier about the fact that, like, cool, I'm sitting here with this board game, and it's just a board game. And if I get frustrated, I've got two choices. I can read the rules and make sure I fully understand what's happening here and whether or not I actually want to be playing in the first place, or I can choose to just be like, no, fuck it, I'm just going to have my opinion about this. And there's so many layers to that too, right? Like, you start to actually get in the rule book, that's going to open another series of questions, and I just feel like it creates this opportunity to, like, skyrocket with the things that you're doing and what you're touching and where that might take you. Yeah, I think you can still make that right up there, yeah.
Okay, sorry. Yeah.
Or you just end up getting stagnant and stuck, and then you're like, this is fucking miserable all around.
In other words, or just to put it more simply, before you throw out the game, you got to understand the rules of the game.
Yeah, or give yourself an opportunity to. Like, don't just make an assumption that this is just going to be shit forever.
I get it. It's very
Right?
funny. It's very funny.
This is
like
going to feel super weird, but yes, you're going this way.
I'm going this way?
No, you're going this way.
Okay.
They closed because we got traffic. This is the...
Oh, I see. Yikes. Dude, everything's clicking within the last 5 minutes.
Super quick note on this.
Yes.
Just because now that you're in this... So this is the Battery Tunnel.
Okay.
We're going underneath the lower tip of Manhattan into Brooklyn.
Right.
It's about a mile-ish long. Two things worth noting.
Okay.
Every year there's a run in New York City called the Tunnel to Towers.
All right.
There's a firehouse on the other side of this tunnel. When 9/11 happened, and I really wish and should know the fireman's name, he ran into a firehouse on the other side of the tunnel, grabbed all the gear he could find, put it on, ran through this to go help, only to meet his death.
Jesus.
And so every year, in honor of that incredible act of selflessness, there's a Tunnel to Towers run where the tunnel gets closed down, and a lot of firefighters will show up with all of their gear on and run the whole thing with their gear on in honor of him. Actually, turn this off. I'm gonna...
You gonna direct me?
Yeah, and we're gonna make one more stop for beer.
Sure thing.
So welcome to Brooklyn. Welcome to my neighborhood.
This is it. I'm trying to take it in.
Well,
So
this is like you're basically in like the ass crack of the neighborhood right now underneath the BQE.
I mean, for all intents and purposes, it's still standing, but it looks
still
like
standing.
it's seen better days.
Oh no, it's janky as fuck.
Something that I wasn't expecting to learn about Tim is that he occasionally runs high.
Especially if I'm out running in the morning, and if I'm like super baked, which I usually am when I'm running in the morning.
Actually?
Oh yeah, 1,000%.
Really?
In fact, I just posted about this me.
No, there's also a maintenance required light on that I've been seeing all day. So you have a smoke before going for a run?
Yeah.
How does that work?
You get baked and then you go left foot, right foot until you're done with your run.
Do you? So it obviously helps. I'm guessing.
Yes, I mean it has to be sativa.
Okay.
If you eat or smoke indica, you just want to go back to sleep.
I'm only learning about this in the last week or so because obviously it's illegal here.
Yeah.
And so you buy what you think you're buying here.
Oh,
Whereas in Melbourne, it's
yeah,
literally
yeah.
just, so you know somebody and you hope for the best.
Remember that from being young. Make a left here.
Yeah. Ambulances, man. There's like just an ambulance around every corner.
Well,
And I've also seen some ambulances that like kind of drive a little wildly and like almost hit people. And then I wonder if an ambulance hits someone, can they just say, hop in? Because we're going to the...
They always keep an extra spot for it. It's American tradition. You can't... Oh, no way.
Is that actually the fire hydrant?
Yeah, right here.
All right.
Wow.
Let's see. I've never done a parallel park.
Oh, no
backwards.
way.
Let's see how this works.
Oh.
This could be...
Your tricky part is you didn't pull up.
Yeah.
The rookie mistake is the not getting close enough to the car on the right.
Hold on. I'm gonna... Okay. All right. There's a lot of pressure here, but I got a good feeling about this.
Oh, you're golden now.
I got a good feeling about this.
Yep.
It's just the front. question is the swing. When's the swing coming? I think it's now.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh, Tim. Tim, I'm not fucking around.
No, you are one and done, my friend. Holy shit. That was that was absolutely brilliant. Wow.
Thank you. I feel.
Was that really your first one?
I swear to God.
No
that
shit.
is purely beginner's luck.
Dude, that was incredible.
Thank you.
And like, not only that, but
that's good enough.
Perfect. That is perfect.
I'm on a high right now.
Wow.
Thank you. All right.
Navigated the tunnel, the traffic, and parallel parking.